Hey everybody, Aaron Blaise here, and I forgot to put my mic on. So here we are back. It's Thursday, and sorry about there we go. It's Thursday, and we are coming at you from sunny, hot DeLand, Florida, and it's Moose Day. You guys have been asking for a moose, so I'm going to draw you a moose today. And as you can see, I've already done a quick little, really rough sketch right here to get it started, so I'm not doing a bunch of searching. I get a scribbly fast little meh kind of moose with an attitude. But so it's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. And as usual, I've got my trusty sidekick, Dustin Blaise, my son, here. He's going to be answering questions. Say hi, Dustin.
How's it going, eh?
Nice. And then over in sunny Sarasota, Florida, we've got Nick Birch, my business partner, and he's going to be also fielding some questions and sending links and all kinds of stuff. So let's see here. I got to drink some tea. I'm really thirsty. Let's catch you up. So in the last week, we've been running around. We've had some great meetings, doing various things. We're in the process of planning a new digital painting course, and so one of the things I'd love to hear from you guys is, what are you looking for in a digital painting course? My specialty is Photoshop and Corel Painter, and we're going to be painting Procreate. Couldn't get that out as well. And so why don't you guys tell me some of the things that you're looking for, because I'd like to go ahead and hit them. And then also, my buddy Tom Bancroft, you can find him on Instagram, look him up on Facebook. Tom Bancroft, we used to animate together, and he's doing this really cool thing for May. He's doing this thing called Mermaid. So it's every day they're drawing new mermaids during the month of May. And it's really caught on, it's catching fire, and good for Tom. I'm really happy for him. And so I want to send more love his way. So why don't you guys go check it out. And if you're artists, do some mermaid drawings and hashtag it Mermaid or Mermaid 2017. And remember, his name is Tom Bancroft. He was actually the animator of Mushu, the dragon from Mulan. So go check him out. He's a great guy. Go follow his stuff over on Instagram as well. I think he's Tom Bancroft 1 on Instagram. And I was going to show you, I just did a couple. Here's one that I did a few days ago of a mermaid. And they're just doing mermaid drawings. And that's one of the great things I love about what I do now, because I just sit back and decide what I'm going to draw today, and I just go ahead and draw it. And then the other one, I was thinking, I wanted to push the limits a little bit, and I thought, you know what if, there's mermaids made out of fish, but, fish come in all different kinds of sizes, and we have not only fish, but we have whales and dolphins and all kinds of stuff. What if there is a mermaid whale? And so I started thinking about killer whales, and so I created this image yesterday of a mermaid killer whale. And that one's been pretty popular, so I'm pretty happy with it. It was a lot of fun to create, and I'll probably be creating some more. But today, because I promised you guys, today's Moose Day. And so that's what we're going to be. Actually, I'm going to get rid of these. I got my monitor way up here. So let me get rid of these guys. And I want to show you my reference. I've got reference for everything. These are photos that I took of I've got hundreds of photos of moose. But these are in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, when I was there back in 2014, I believe. Got some great shots of this big male moose crossing the road. And so so I just figured I would use that as a little bit of reference. Do you have a question, Dustin?
No, just
stretching?
my hand.
Gotcha.
Yep,
and you're watching your phone too, right? Make sure that...
yes.
I want to make sure we don't have any static with you guys, because we've been having static issues, and I think we had the problem licked.
Yep. I don't hear any static.
Sorry, I'm super thirsty. I just had a salty steak sandwich.
Beauty.
So anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. So like I said, I went ahead and just scribbled out this. I'm going to get rid of this. I figured it'd be fun just to do like a moose character design kind of thing, like semi-real, like in my style. I like to do kind of pushed characters, but still kind of in the world of reality. So the first thing that I'm thinking of when I do something like this is I'm thinking about overlapping shapes. I think of the main shapes. I'm just going to give you a quick tutorial on what I'm thinking about. So I think about this basic, let me knock this back even further. I think about, wow, that's too much. I think about this this basic shape, that we've got right here. Boom. And that big schnoz. So there's that basic shape that overlaps into this shape. And notice, we got the tube on the neck, which goes into the shoulders, which come in here, like so. Very basic shape, which comes into the pectoralis muscles. And here we basically get a straight line coming down with this kind of feel right here, coming down like that. And I want to push that with the knobby wrists right there. Elbows back here. This is actually the wrist, and this comes down into the toes. And I'm going for larger. Here we go. Larger feet. You got something, Dustin?
Yeah, I got two questions. The first one is which brush pack includes the basic brushes or for just line art and sketch pens?
Nick will provide a link to that. We get that question every single week. So the brush that I'm using now is in my original custom brush set, and Nick will be providing a link to that. So notice, I've got the shoulders. I think about that. I think about the head, the neck, the shoulders, then the body going into the hips, and I think about the pelvis back here, and then those back legs. And this is part of the calf muscle down into the ankle. Right there. So those are the shapes really, really simplified. And then on top of that, I start working into the details. Okay, so I'm gonna lose that, and now I'm gonna just start tying it down. Now that you see how I think, yeah, Dustin.
As far as the drawing animals go, which one do you think is the most difficult for you to handle for the anatomy? Like, which one's has the most difficult anatomy to work with?
That's a hard question. A lot of animals. They come in all shapes and sizes, but the one thing I've learned, one of the things I love is comparative anatomy. All mammals basically have all the same parts, just in different proportions. Even birds have the same parts as we do, but in different proportions. And so once you understand that, then and basically the same muscles as well. And once you understand that, then it's just a matter of understanding how to shift those proportions. It's not as complicated as you think once you understand those major parts. In a moose, for example, if we draw a moose, if I draw him from the side, his shoulders come up here. There's a shoulder blade, like right here, comes in. There's the upper arm, comes down into there, down into the wrist, and down to the feet, and then there's going to be, and that comes up into tricep muscles that are up in here, trapezius muscle here, and they have in their spine, they have big bone that helps connect to the trapezius muscles right there. There's the pectoralis, and that goes down into the feet right there. So I'm just sketching out really fast a realistic moose. I've got the wattle that hangs down right here. Ear comes up. Right there, I drew his butt kind of small. So as I'm drawing this, I'm thinking about all these different parts. Once again, her pelvis here is here. That crest of the hip is right in there. The trochanter is there where the thigh attach, or the thigh bone, femur. It goes into the knee right here, which is going to come into the calf, which will come down into the ankle. I'm going super fast here, sorry. But the reason I'm showing you this is that all of these parts are the major parts that I think about. these bones. These are all the same bones that I would find on a horse, on a deer, on a cat, on a dog, on a human, on any of these of the animals that I'm talking about. There we go. And so once you understand that, then it's just a matter of pushing and pulling those proportions. These are the parts I think about. When I'm thinking about a cat, I'm thinking, okay, how is that shoulder and the elbow and the triceps gone into the wrist and the toes and all, how is that? That's the part I have to remember, is how it's different. I don't have to remember what muscles are there because I already know. It's just a matter of understanding how to change them. And I know that's kind of a weird answer, but for me, there's really no more difficult or less difficult animal. It's just remembering how the proportions change. I know it was a long answer, but I wanted to explain it. That's how I think. Yes, Dustin.
I do have a question here, but somebody's also requested I do a Brother Bear Moose impersonation. So the next question, I'm going to try to ask it to you in impersonation.
Okay, sounds good, eh?
So, like, how much time does it take to paint to achieve realism, eh? And what elements do you add to it, eh?
All right, so to achieve realism isn't really a lot of people think that realism is achieved through all the details and all of that. The 99% of realism is achieved by hitting the proper value and hitting proper hue of color. And if you can hit that, then adding details here and there is just a matter of, and a lot of times that's suggested detail. If you look at the old matte paintings from, let's say, Star Wars, where they were painting on glass, one of the classic shots is the shot inside the Death Star where the spaceships are coming in and landing, and they have all the stormtroopers lined up. There's so much loose painting in there. They painted those guys in, but the eye kind of fills in the rest, and a lot of matte painting is done that way, and it looks so realistic. But the fact is that it's really kind of loose, and so the secret is suggested detail. But like I said, it's really it's all about hitting the right value, it's good drawing, and then right value and right color. And it's not a matter. To me, it's not a matter of time. I mean, everything takes a different amount of time. But it just, if you can hit those things right, then you're good.
I wonder if I should just do my moose impersonation for
No, I don't think so. I think that'll get annoying. I don't think you should.
Well, I mean, you're drawing a moose, eh? What's the biggest mistake when drawing animals?
What's the biggest mistake when drawing animals? Wow. A lot of people will try to draw an animal. Let's say they're having to do something I used to see this a lot of times in animation. People would try to design a character without knowing the character well enough. People complain about not being able to draw this animal or that animal, and the fact is they just haven't done the study yet of that animal. To learn the anatomy. Once you learn the anatomy, then there's not a lot of work to it. So I would say, not doing enough research or study ahead of time is probably the biggest mistake. And people, quite frankly, people just get lazy, at that point. They don't want to do the homework, and you can't get by without doing the homework. I'm the biggest advocate you'll ever see of research. That killer whale Mermaid that you saw I did yesterday, I had about 15 different images of whales underwater. I wanted to see a whale belly. I pulled up scuba divers. I pulled up, what do bubbles look like underwater? I don't assume anything, because one of the biggest mistakes we make as artists that try to paint realism is we get lazy sometimes and we paint what we think and don't paint what we see or observe. And the more you do that, the more you'll know, and you'll be able to paint more accurately. There we go. Let's make this guy shaggy.
For people that are new to your website, what would be a good course for a starting point?
Well, for people that are new to my website, it depends, because I've got a variety of stuff on there, ranging from animation to charcoal drawing to how to draw bears. So it really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for something basic that I think covers a lot of different things, I would say probably my character design course or my human anatomy course, because that really kind of has a broad net and involves a lot of different disciplines. You know, animators can benefit from it, and animal artists can benefit from it, and all kinds of stuff. This is the hardest part I always find with moose. Moose have very complex antlers, the way they kind of fan out and go back. They're kind of funky that way. And I'm definitely using my reference for these.
What is the most important skills to working in Photoshop as a newbie?
If you're a newbie working in Photoshop, one of the most important skills. Okay, so if you're a painter, if you want to be a realist or a development painter, first things first. You know, Photoshop is a really big, robust program, and so that's one of its great benefits, because it enables you to do any number of things 1,000 different ways, and that can be good and bad. But the good part of it is you know, we all come at Photoshop from different backgrounds. I came at Photoshop with a very traditional background in illustration, painting, and that sort of thing. So I approached it like a painter, and I started out, you know, just painting on one layer and you know, just treating it like a painting, and I was able to do paintings that way. But then as I got further and further into Photoshop, then I was able to really kind of utilize the software. And one of the biggest benefits of that software coming at it as a new painter that I found was the ability to paint in layers. That was huge for me, because then I could go in and, you know, change different things and not worry about ruining other parts, you know. So I would say the biggest mistake you can make as a newbie is to paint everything on one layer. You know, try to use multiple layers. Let's get that ear up there. There we go. Moose have big ears. So yeah, use multiple layers. You know, I tend to do a drawing layer, then a local color layer, then a shadow layer, a light layer, deeper shadow layer, highlight layer. I break them up, in a lot of my paintings will have 30 or 40 layers in it, just because I like to do it that way. Yeah, Dustin?
Did you enjoy working on Brother Bear more, or the Lion King? I still find it amazing that I get to see a person who basically made my childhood.
Well, thank you. I'm glad. It wasn't just me. It was about 500 other people too. But you know, they both had different challenges. I was much younger when I worked on The Lion King. And so The Lion King was my first like big major supervising role as a character. I did Nala, young Nala. But then Brother Bear was the first film I'd ever directed, and so that was a big deal for me too, and it posed its own challenges. It really was the hardest thing I think I've ever done in animation. It was really, really, really hard. But it was very rewarding, and so, you know, I liked working on them both, and they were both, you know, they were both challenging, although Brother Bear was was more challenging for me. So I'm just tying them down. You can see. So I go, you know, when I go in and I just scribble. I scribble out, but I want to make sure that I'm scribbling accurately. I'm trying to get, when I do something like this, I'm trying to get rhythms and proportions and everything. I'll push and pull, and I'll lasso and increase in size, you know, different parts. I'll smush parts until I get a drawing that I like. And then I just come in and sit here and have fun, you know, just drawing away like this. And then we'll go ahead and start adding color. Oh, man. I'm already out of tea and I'm thirsty. All right. So, and I'm also very uh, aware, cognizant of where I put my furry parts. That sounded weird, but the like the top part, the shoulders up top tend to be really scruffy and furry on a moose, and as you get further down, the fur gets shorter and a little bit more groomed and tighter. There we go. Yeah.
I've been developing my colorblind approach for my craft for almost 20 years. Do you have any tips for the color challenged?
It's funny you asked me that. My brother, Travis Blaise, who was on here last week with, was it last week? No, he was on Facebook. Um, he's colorblind as well. And he has faced different challenges. To be honest with you, I'm not colorblind, and so it's not something I've had to deal with. Um, I'm not sure what kind of color blindness you have. The most common is red-green, so I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume you have red-green. I could be wrong. My brother, he's really dealt with it in the fact that he doesn't do a lot of color work. He does black and white. Works in storyboard for animation companies. So he has adapted in that way. He's very strong color green, brown, or red green colorblind. So a lot of times he's painting green when he should be painting red, or painting red when he should be, a lot of characters, instead of getting flesh tone, he ends up painting them like Martians, and he doesn't know it. But other than that, he's really adapted to it, and his name is Travis Blaise. If you want to look him up on Facebook, for those of you that are color challenged, look him up, because he's got a lot of good advice, and I think that he's trying to do the same thing I am, and I think that's a good angle for him, is to talk about some of the challenges that he's had as a colorblind artist. And Travis Blaise, and I think he has a sketch. I think he's at on Instagram. He's at sketch to animate, and then on I think he's got the same thing on Facebook, but he's also got a personal page, Travis Blaise. And if you have color issues, look him up, give him a shout. He's really friendly, and he'll talk to you.
How often do you draw people?
I draw people fairly often. Obviously not as often as I draw animals, but I draw, whenever the mermaids. I was drawing the mermaids, which are kind of at least half people. So I get in there every once in a while. And I love drawing humans. I mean, I've got an anatomy course that I put out. So, yeah, it's just, I just prefer drawing animals. I always have.
I love the animation lessons you made. I just wanted to know if there are any more animation lessons in the works. What more is there to teach animation-wise?
Well, it's funny you asked that. We do have some in the works, and we're planning on, we've got a whole bunch of stuff in the works, actually. I've got the digital painting course coming up. I've also got a course, this is, probably a year's worth of work that we have coming up. For those of you that are part of my annual subscription, these are some of the courses you can expect. I've got the digital painting course. I'm going to be doing the wolves, dogs and wolves, or actually wolves, coyotes, and foxes, and I'm going to do a separate course on drawing dogs and different dog breeds, just because there's so many different shapes there. I'm also going to be hitting elephants, a brand new entire course on elephants, and then animation. So talking about the animation, I've already got the full animation course, but I want to delve in and get something a little bit more advanced. I want to talk about acting for animation. I'm going to get into some of the more subtle sides of animation, broad animation, just some of the more advanced techniques that I don't cover in my original course. So those are all bits that you can expect in the next year or so. So these are the flexor muscles right here, coming in, right down to the wrist.
Did you like Moana, or would you have liked it more if it was 2D?
I loved Moana, and for me, 2D, 3D, it doesn't matter to me. It's just the medium. I mean, personally, I love to create 3D, or 2D, sorry. But I love 3D as well. It's a great tool. You know, a great example is, paintings didn't get any less beautiful when photography came about, and photography was as beautiful in its own right as well. So, I loved it, and I thought it was a really beautiful, visually stunning film, and and I thought, all my friends out there at Disney that worked on it did a great job.
I love how you would not stop talking about the water effects they did for that.
The water I was blown away by, and some of the rigging on the characters too. The grandmother, and how her arm had this flabbiness to it that I'd never seen before. That I just thought, man, it's just, there's little details like that. Plus, I mean, it's those little details that added to the acting which is obviously the most important part. But it gave it a tangibility that I just absolutely loved. So I'm making sure that I'm hitting anatomy correctly, but I'm pushing it and caricaturing, and a moose's feet aren't normally this big, but it just, doggone it, they just seem like they should be. He seems like he should be big and goofy looking. But I'm really not pushing him as much as I could. I mean, he's not Bullwinkle. But I'm pushing his legs, making sure they're a little thinner, maybe a little longer, making him a little ganglier. It's a moose, baby. It's a moose. And let's see here. I want to make sure that I'm getting the other antler in here. Here. There we go. And let's get that other ear kind of right in there.
Would you work on a live action version of Brother Bear if Disney asked you someday?
Sure, but that's never going to happen. But that's a cool idea. I think a live action version of that film, I think, is fantastic. A fantastic idea. I still, it was the first film I'd ever been a director on, and there's a ton that I would go back and change on it. I still love the concept, and I love the artistry, the animation that and backgrounds and cleanup and everything that everybody did. I did layouts, and I just thought everything was really done well. There's just things as a director I wish I would have had more experience doing, and performances, getting the right performance from actors and that sort of thing. But as a concept, doing it in live action, man, that could be really cool. So I'm noodling a little bit, but you can see we've got them kind of roughed in now. Not roughed in, but tied down. Yeah, Dustin.
Somebody's asking, what about drawing from observation course, like making a course on observation sketches?
Actually, that's a great idea. Whoever asked that, cool idea. I've never thought of that. And how to draw through direct observation. That's kind of the suggestion, I'm assuming.
Yeah, kind of like, they just said observation course. So yeah, like observing.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually. I love that. I will take that into heart and we'll see about getting something like that going. Because I have specific techniques that I use when drawing from life, especially animals that tend to move around quite a bit. There's certain things that I do in order to capture them with my mind and get them onto the paper. One of the biggest things, I'll just tell you, one of the biggest things I do, if you guys are out there at the zoo trying to draw an animal like a moose that's moving around, there's two things that I do. One is, first of all, an animal at the zoo is either going to be sleeping or they're going to be pacing. And a lot of times when they're pacing, they're doing the same path. And so a lot of times you can pick a spot in that path and go, okay, here it comes. Boom, I got that pose. Then you can look down and start drawing. And by the time you get a few drawing lines down, the animals come back around and they're crossing that path again. And when I do that, I look at them, and then as soon as they hit that pose, I look away. And what that does is it leaves a flash of an image. It's almost like your brain takes a photograph and you're left with that last image in your brain, and I get that down as quickly as possible. Very scribbly, very fast. And I'll do that a couple of times, and then I can stare at the animal and get the details to hit, the proportions and all the little bits of muscle and everything else, and the finishing out the drawing. And then obviously the other time the animal is, if they're not pacing, they're sleeping, which is, obviously an easier time to draw. But those are the two techniques I use. I look at them crossing the same path, and I look away really fast when I get the pose that I like. Yeah, Dustin?
I've actually been, got this question about 2 or 3 times already. But have you considered doing a course on scaled creatures like dinosaurs and reptiles and alligators and that kind of stuff? Because they say that the drawing scales and like harder surfaced creatures are really difficult to do.
I have not thought about that, but I will. And even if it's not a full course, I can do some tutorials on drawing scales and things like that. It's really not, try not to get caught up in specifically that you're drawing scales. Look at it more as a pattern. How do you create that pattern? That's kind of how I look at different drawing situations. Fur to me is no different than scales. It's just a different pattern, and I need to, what are the techniques that I need to create in order to create that pattern? And so, I try to break it down to its simplest components, and then start from there, and then work towards the detail. Always start with the broad, work towards the detail. But that's a great idea, and I'll do a tutorial on that. Okay, so now I've got him kind of roughed in, and he's got a nice little attitude on him, I think. Yeah, I'll finish. Yeah, why not? Good enough. I'm noodling. Okay, I'm gonna let's add some local color to him. Yeah, Dustin.
I want to start drawing animals. I'm a complete beginner and I've never drawn before. What is the best start in my case?
Pick up a pencil, pick up a piece of paper, and start drawing. I know it sounds smart-assed, but what I'm saying is, if you're doing it, you're learning. And so the best thing you can do if you're drawing animals, obviously if you've never done it, you're completely new at it, going and drawing at the zoo is going to be incredibly difficult and incredibly frustrating. So I would start with, first of all, try to learn the anatomy. And there's so much information out there as far as going online and finding anatomy for virtually any animal that you can think of. Understand how those parts go together, and understand that, basically four-legged animals are all basically, especially mammals, are basically put together the same way, with the exception, if you eat, there's obviously differences between hoofed animals and non-hoofed animals, and but upper body tends to be built basically the same way, with the way their rib cages are working, and how all the different parts attach to that rib cage. But then I would, one of the things I love to do, even now, is I record nature shows. My DVR is pretty much filled up with nature shows. And, I can't always get out to the wilds of Alaska or wherever that I like to go. So the next best thing for me, and I don't live near a great zoo, and so the next best thing for me is, first of all, I don't like to just download photos off the internet. That's the worst thing you can do, because you're really not learning anatomy that way. So I watch these programs and I draw off of them, and you're seeing the animal moving around, and granted it's not in 3D, but you're getting a good sense of that animal's build and anatomy. So Try that. Yeah, Dustin.
Is it good to keep similarity or styles in our character designing?
Say it one more time. I didn't understand.
Um, is it good to keep similarity or styles in our character designing?
Similarity? Oh,
Yeah,
similarity of
yeah,
styles?
yeah, like like similar styles. Like I'm not sure if he's talking about like on
Oh,
a
well,
specific project or like as a
okay,
individual.
I think I know what you're asking. Like, should you have your own personal style and keep it consistent? I think is what you might be trying to ask. If you're looking to be a character designer for a studio, then being able to design in different styles is your best bet. Any kind of uh, ability to adjust your style is always going to be in demand. Um, Especially if you're an on-staff artist, because studios don't like to do the same style. At least most don't. Style of film every time out of the shoot.
And different styles of art, like some like the characters rounder, some of them like more
Yeah,
realistic.
yeah, whatever it might be. And so I would definitely, especially if you're looking to fill up your portfolio, I would probably include 3 or 4 different styles of design work that you may have done, and see where that takes you. I'm just doing local color right now. I'm just trying to get his markings down the way that a moose's markings are. They tend to be darker and a little, even on the bluer side. I'm gonna go blue-gray. Maybe not that. Well, no, I'm actually gonna go with the brown first. Then we'll get the blue reflections in there, because their dark fur will actually reflect some of the blue of the sky. That's too dark. Let's go a little lighter. And then we're gonna, there we go. Go a little darker. Yeah, yeah, man.
Yeah, one shoulder on the moose there looks a bit higher than the other. Is that intentional, Derry?
Yes, it is. If you're talking about the shoulder here and here, I purposely, I didn't want it to feel completely symmetrical. Plus, there's a little bit of 3-point perspective, although I don't have it quite right here. But I'm thinking about, the question is, why is this shoulder higher than this shoulder? And I'm trying to get a little bit of this, this. Thinking about perspective like that. And it should be a little more pushed. And you can see the shoulder here, I've got it pushed more than it should be. But I'm also thinking, okay, maybe it's pushed back a little bit more. I just don't want it to be as symmetrical as that. I mean, I could come in, because one thing I was thinking about is, and it's funny you mentioned it. I was thinking about if I came in here and pushed this just, where is it? There we go. Push this up just a touch. If all I have to do is add a line here, like so, and then it feels a little more pushed, but I don't want to do that, because actually it's anatomically not right. So there we go. That's what I want right there. I was pushing it in the wrong direction. There. Now if I push that line over here, then we start to feel, okay, there's a little bit of the peak right in there. But that's a good call from whoever asked that question. I do think about, perspective, and I've got just a little bit lazy there, because I thought, no, pushing that up might be a little bit better. But I'm glad you mentioned it, because having going in like this and resketching just a little bit, I think I like this a little better. So there we go. Thanks, whoever that was.
So what do you think of the horror genre? I think that'd be fun to do in October, like a Halloween special. But I think the person's asking you like what um, would you consider doing like a horror genre maybe?
No. The only reason it's just not my bag. It's not, I don't. Uh, I like going to see horror films and everything. I just don't like drawing it. And if it's a good, well-made, smart horror film. But yeah, it's just not my bag. But I mean, I love looking at artwork from people that do it well. But for me, it's just it's not something I'm into.
I remember you made the big murals of the front of our friend's house for her Halloween party.
Yeah, those are more comic.
It was still
And
pretty cool.
yeah, thanks. And I could do maybe comic horror genre stuff. But yeah, it's just not my bag, baby.
I think nothing's more comedic in the horror genre than the Goofy's How to Be a Ghost.
Oh yeah,
Short
that was a short that I directed a long time ago. Goofy's. Yeah, there's a link for it, Nick can probably find the link. How to Haunt a House. I forgot I directed that. I forgot all about it.
First lesson: how to be a ghost.
That's right.
Makes me laugh every time still.
So I'm still just doing local color and it's going slowly because I'm talking so much. But hey, that's okay.
Did you or will you ever do a course on designing landscapes or painting landscapes for animation?
Um, that's a good question. It's not. I'm not an expert, although I could do enough research where I think I could probably get a course out. I am, I get very paranoid. I want to make sure that the courses I provide are as strong as they can possibly be, and I'm not sure that I'm the best guy for it. Although we can consider it. I like doing environmental, and I think I can do environmental, but I don't know. It's not. It's something I have to think about because I might not be the right guy for it. I want to make sure that you guys get your money's worth. Always. So we're getting this guy painted in here. Here. Still just local color. There we go.
Have you ever heard about Pixelate Art Festival? Some of your friends were here last year. Are you considering to attend there someday?
What is it?
The Pixelate Art Festival?
I've never heard of it. Tell me more.
That's kind of all I got right now.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
Whoever this person is, shoot us a link, because I don't know anything about it.
Have you been approached by foreign studios to work for them in the past?
I'm actually working for a foreign studio right now. I'm doing some work for Cartoon Saloon. They're the people that did Secret of the Kells and Song of the Sea, and they're doing a film right now called Wolf Walker. Wolf Walkers, plural.
Does your son draw also?
Yes, he does. Oh, my phone's ringing.
Uh-oh.
No. My son does draw. He draws a crowd. All right, let's see here.
You're so funny.
I'm going to get the antlers drawn.
Are any of your color layers set to multiply right now?
No, everything is just straight up. The first time that I use multiply will be when whoops, that's an ear. The first time that I use multiply will be when I start doing the shadow layers. So right now everything is just a straight paint layer. And you'll see it all just looks kind of flat. The first First shadow layer will be set to multiply, then a highlight layer will be set to overlay. And then once I get those done, then I usually will go in and just do straight painting on new layers over the top.
Nick replied about that art festival thing. Says it's an animation festival in Mexico.
Oh, cool. I think I have been approached by that about that. I just didn't know the name. It's well, I think actually we're going to be, I don't know if it's during the time of the festival, but I think Nick and I are going to be in Mexico City towards the end of August.
Really?
Yeah, we're going to be in Mexico City doing some work with Wacom.
Oh, you're just going
It's
everywhere.
not official yet, so I'll just stop talking right now. But yeah, we'll be down there sometime around then. I'm not sure if that's the right time.
Yeah, I'm still jealous that you're going to Japan.
We are going to be in Japan June 14th through the 23rd. That's in less than 4 weeks. I think that's about 3 weeks away. Well, 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. Let's give him some normal. Let's give him some. Well, keep his eyes brown.
Have you ever drawn a griffin?
Peter Griffin. No.
That's not funny, Peter.
I drew a griffin. Yeah, I think I drew griffins in high school, but beyond that, I haven't really drawn any griffins. I could. Maybe we'll have a Griffin Day. Okay, so I've basically got his colors in that feel. Oh, let's see here. I think we want to go a little bit more right up in the shoulders. We can get a little scruffier. Once again, this is just local color. Local color is the color of an object, not in shadow, not in light. It's just the color. So this moose has brown fur, so I'm painting brown fur. We'll be doing shadows and whatnot soon.
Do you think 2D animation will ever come back?
I do think 2D animation will come back. I think it's going to take a very brave executive to pull the trigger. And I'm talking about, 2D's still around. So I'm talking about mainstream, big studio, type of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's going to take a very brave, story-savvy executive, which I don't think there's that many that are out there right now outside of Pixar, Disney, the major studios, DreamWorks. I think it's going to take some real story-savvy, non-trend following executive out there to go, you know what, it's time we do another 2D film. And I think they need to do it in a way that's not going to cost an arm and a leg, because that's the only reason they're not doing it now, is because it's cost prohibitive. It's still just as expensive to do a 2D film, if not more expensive, as to do a 3D film, and there's more of a gamble, at least in their eyes, because less and less people were going to see the 2D films. So that's what I got to say about that. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and add a shadow layer on top. And there was my multiply. So you can see I added a multiply, and I don't want to go super dark. And shadows are cool, so I'm going with a cool color. Excuse me.
Don't die over there.
I know. Been fighting a cough for a long time. There we go. And
would you consider doing a course in wolves or canines? I think we're already
okay. All right. Who came in late? Somebody came in late. I just mentioned that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
oh, yeah,
Dustin,
right.
You were sitting here. Come on, man.
That's right.
Come on.
Sorry, I'm so focused on reading the comments.
All right, well, pay attention, son. Yes, I am doing, of course, on wolves and foxes and coyotes. And so, whoever asked that question, yes, I am. All right. Excuse me. I'm sorry, folks. So I'm just painting in the shadow layer right now. This is where I start adding form, and I'm just looking at kind of how some of those black shapes sit on I'm looking at my reference.
Have you heard about the Click Animation Festival in Amsterdam?
I have not. Tell me about it. Come on, tell me about
Well, that's all I got.
it. The Click Animation Festival in Amsterdam. I would love to go to Amsterdam.
Who wouldn't?
Hey. So having fun, getting shadows in here. There we go. This is coming out good. I'm happy with this.
Did you ever give your voice to any character?
You know, I did a lot of scratch dialogue recording when we were making Brother Bear. Scratch dialogue is when you are doing the temporary voice until you can get the real voice in there. And sometimes, you know, we might like it enough that we actually keep the scratch actor. In my case, not so much.
Yeah, I even did some scratch voices for you.
You did?
Back during the
Tembo.
production Tembo, yeah.
Yeah?
That was a lot of fun. It was a good learning experience.
Doing dialogue is always fun. It's a lot like doing improv classes. You can, you know, once you let your inhibitions go, then you just get in there and have a blast.
I think one of my favorite moments during that was when you guys were telling me that I had to start laughing because there was a scene where like me and some other characters were making fun of somebody. I was laughing.
Uh-huh.
And at first I was trying to fake a laugh, but then halfway through it I was realizing how ridiculous I was sounding, and it ended up thinking it was so funny I started actually in like real
Really laughing.
laugh.
Yeah. And that's where we get the best stuff. Yep. Recording kids, that's one of the hardest parts we had.
Yeah, especially when you get farted in the face.
Okay, that's enough, Dustin. On the head. All right. So we're getting the shadows in here. Yeah, Dustin.
I have problems with my digital paintings being too dark, especially when going to print. Do you ever have this problem, and how does one compensate for this?
Paint lighter. I don't know what to tell you. First of all, I a lot of times I'll do a printout, and then I make sure one of the best things you can do is look at your printout and do a printout from let's say you're using a printer, have someone print it out, bring it back, and then take that image that you have on your monitor and adjust your color on your monitor so that it is exactly what you have in the printout. That way you'll know that whatever you see on your monitor is going to be what prints out. So there's your first step. Once you get that working, then yes, then the next step is just paint lighter. You know, keying. We're doing a course right now with Ronnie Williford on color theory. Ronnie's one of the best at it, and we cover a section in there on keying your painting. And keying can mean a couple of different things. First of all, you can have a painting that's in high key or low key, meaning it's overall light in value or overall dark in value. But the other idea about keying a painting is really talking about establishing your darks and establishing your lights and making sure that you're not painting yourself into a corner. So let's say you start painting dark. And so you start doing a painting, and you're starting with your light areas, but you're painting them too dark. By the time you get to your dark areas, if you're working like that, then you don't have any place to go, and you're almost painting black, and your painting will come out too dark. So you want to make sure that when you start out painting, a lot of times what I do is I bounce back and forth. I go from my shadows to my highlights, back to my shadows, back to my highlights, making sure that everything's in the right balance. Now, once again, just keep in mind that a lot of times you might have a painting that's overall light or overall dark. So that all applies. Yeah.
Why did you create a multiply layer for the shadow? Is it compulsory, and can you create a normal layer instead of a multiply for shadowing?
The reason I do it for shadows, a multiply layer, is if I just do a regular opaque layer, I'm painting a whole new layer. You can't see anything underneath it. When I paint, let me show you. Let's make a new layer and multiply. When I do a shadow, I have all these different values. That I've established in the local color layer. See what happens when I paint over it? Those values get adjusted according to their value in relation to the next value. So everything doesn't get, I'm not painting opaque, I'm actually painting shadow. That's why I do it. That's one of the benefits of painting digitally, is I've got that ability to paint in kind of like a see-through shadowy layer. And that to me is really cool. You can, like I said, you can go in there and paint it traditionally like you would on canvas, and there's nothing wrong with that. For me, I like to do it this way and then go in with opaques and just hit little areas, and you'll see that I'm going to do that later. But this just keeps it, for me, more consistent, and I can and I've got a lot of control with it, and it's quicker, way quicker, way quicker. Yeah, Dustin.
When you do character designs, how do you decide on what they look like?
When I do a character design, how do I decide on how they look Well, it really comes down to when it's a feeling, I guess. There's certain design principles that I try to follow in order to get to the design that I like. But it comes down to, I think about that character's personality, and do I feel like it's hitting that personality? Do I feel like the aesthetics of the design are what I want them to be? I try to make sure that everything's kind of lining up in that way, and then once I get it to a place that I like, then I show it to people, and then I go off. I listen to their notes, and hopefully they're honest, and then I go off and do another pass. But it's a push and pull kind of thing. So I'm still in multiply mode, doing the shadow layer, having some fun with them. But we're drawing. This moose is coming out. It's coming out good. See, we're getting some darks in here. I'm going to go in and I'm going to pull out some of those details. You know what I didn't do? I didn't finish my local color layer. Look at that. Lazy.
Oh my god, you're so lazy. What's your tip on drawing hair or fur?
Hair or fur?
Yeah.
Well, there's two different ways you can do it digitally. You can cheat it with a brush, which I have. I've got hair brushes. There's three different ways. You can cheat it that way. Or you can do a combination of using the hair brushes as accents and then paint it traditionally. Well, not traditionally, but the way I'm going to talk about next. And the first way is thinking about it in shape. I think about fur. Once again, I go from the broad. To me, painting fur, grass, all those types of detail-y things are all basically the same. I think about the big shape and I work towards the detail. But even with fur, I'll never get to where I'm painting every hair. I just don't do that. And it's more pleasing to the eye. You know, this guy feels furry, but by no means have I painted every hair. I've gotten the shaggy parts where they need to be shaggy. I'm going to clean up this underdrawing a little bit.
Is it a good technique to start coloring by applying colors on grayscale illustration without studying from direct colors technique?
Ask that one more time.
Is it a good technique to start coloring by applying colors on grayscale illustration without studying from direct color techniques?
I'm not sure what you mean by studying from direct color techniques. You know, painting on grayscale, that's fine. The bottom line is try to observe from life as much as you can and apply it that way. And apply, you know, what you've learned. There we go. I don't want to get rid of these lines, are annoying me. You know, there's 1,000 different ways you can paint color, but if you want to paint it accurately, the best thing you can do is paint from life and look at the color situation. If you're in a pretty unique color situation, then try to set it up, and if you're trying to create something unique, try to set it up in life, or try to find something that's similar. To this day, I'm 50 years old, and I've been drawing from life all my life. But even still, if I'm doing something specific out of my head, I'll try to find reference or go out, photograph exactly that lighting situation, because there's no way that I can always remember everything that needs to go into it. So I'm always finding the right reference for what I'm doing. I hope that answered your question. I'm not sure it did, but anyway, yeah. So now I'm doing an overlay, and I want to paint some of the highlights. And I'm going to think about, that sun, the light is kind of coming over my right shoulder. That's kind of my go-to. I'm going to make it a little brighter. Right now it's just on overlay, so I'm just hitting some highlights here. And then I'm going to paint direct here in just a bit. Top of that lip is going to get a little color. There we go.
What do you do when you want to draw but you have absolutely no idea what to draw?
I draw. I just sit down and I don't usually have that problem. I get that question every week. I think I need to do a tutorial on it. I literally get that question every week. And so obviously there's a struggle out there. And I actually used to have that, and I broke that by just, at first, what I would do when I got to that situation is I would just start to draw just anything. It doesn't matter, just anything. And then as my brain loosened up, ideas would start popping into my head. Nowadays, when I sit down to draw, pretty much 99% of the time, I know what I want to draw. I've just been doing this long enough, and that's just how it is. But I do remember a time that it didn't come to me as easily. And it really is just sitting down and going, okay, I'm just going to draw. Just going to draw. I'm not going to worry about what I'm drawing. You know, a lot of times I like to just sit down and when I'm on the phone, and I'll just doodle faces. That's my go-to, is doodling faces. So when I would have this problem, I would sit down and go, okay, I'm going to draw what I doodle, because when I doodle, I'm not thinking. But now I'm going to sit down and actually think, but I'm going to do something with a doodle. You know, one of my profile faces or eyes or something like that. That inevitably always leads to something.
When you draw, do you look where the light should come from, or do you think where the shadow should be?
Yes and yes. So I think about where the light should come from which is creating shadows, and I put the shadows where they should be. So they go hand in hand. That's how if you think about, you can't think about one without the other. I'm just hitting little light areas here. Now remember, I was talking earlier about that dark fur will reflect get some of this light. There we go. That dark fur will reflect the blue of the sky. So I'm going to go really cool. And as I go over to the left side on here on the color wheel, even though I'm in a warm color, the first thing I can do is go over to the more left I go, the cooler it goes. If I'm in a cool color and I go left, it goes warm. It's all going towards the middle. Think of it that way. When you go gray, you're going towards the middle. If you're in something that's already warm, then you're going to go cool. If you're something that's already cool, then you're going to go warm. That's the beauty of grays. People don't use enough gray. They try to go too pure. So you can see I've gone way over, and I'm in a warm color. But if I come over here, whoops, I'm on a multiply layer here, or overlay. I got to go new layer. If I go here, look how cool that looks. It's a really cool, really light color. This is one of the things we're going to talk about. Look at the color I just picked. That's the color, but when you look at it against here, it looks a lot lighter, doesn't it? That's one of the things we're going to talk about is in this color course, is how color affects color. So I want to go a little darker. I want to stay cool. I want to hit. It's almost going to feel like it's hitting some sunlight here, or it's hitting some sky reflection. These guys always reflect some cool color coming up like that, like so. Haven't heard a question from you in a while, Dustin.
I'm trying to find a good one here. Do you learn how to draw new animals a lot, or do you stick with the animals that you already know how to draw?
I try to draw, well, I know a lot of animals, but I try to learn as much as I can. I just love drawing animals, and so if there's a new one to draw that I think is interesting, then heck yeah, man, I'm going to draw it. I'm going to knock that opacity down. But you see, so once again, coming back to this gray, you see, just even though I was in a warm color, hitting that gray is really giving it some nice little cool accents in here. I just tried to smear it with my finger. What an idiot. See, that's the traditional background coming out. You get so into your digital painting that you're trying to smear it with your finger. There we go. So see how just adding that little bit of cool, see what how it adds a good illustration has balance. And so, always look for those places that you can balance out your warms with cools, darks, lights with darks, all of that kind of stuff. I'm using it to add a little definition where I might need some definition here too.
Do you ever use adjustment layers in your digital paintings?
Adjustment layers? No, I do not. I actually don't know what an adjustment layer is, believe it or not. There we go. So you can see by adding these little bits of cool detail right into the knee there. It gives it a nice dimension. There we go. And now I can experiment. I can throw a layer on top. Now let's literally go cooler with it. So here I am. Now let's go a little brighter and kind of blue. Now we're really going to go blue. And that's going to scream blue when I put it on here. But, oh, it's actually not as bad as I thought it would be.
Have you ever tried to animate in Photoshop using the video layers?
You know, I get that question a lot as well. You know, I'm a big believer. Photoshop, you can animate in Photoshop. And my brother does it, Travis Blaise, and or he has done it. He struggled with it a bit, but he ended up with some results that I thought were really nice. But for me, I'm a big believer in using the right tool for the job, and Photoshop is just not yet anyway, in my opinion, really made for animation, even though they have video layers. And so I use TV Paint. So you can see I've touched it up, hit a little bit of cool color in there, and it really gets it to feel kind of nice. Now I want to do a little reflected light layer. Maybe we're getting a little, let's see, maybe a little reflected light coming off the ground, which will be warm. You know, coming off the sky, the blue of the sky, the gray of the clouds, which are blue-gray. That'll be a little bit cool. But here, we will go. He's picking up a little reflected light, which some of the fur underneath will be catching some of that light. So let's go warm with it. And it's just really hitting little details here and there.
So Nick just sent a message about adjustment layers. And so an adjustment layer applies color and tonal adjustments to your image without permanently changing pixel values. For example, rather than making a levels or curves adjustment directly to your image, you can create a levels or curves adjustment layer.
Yes, now I know what you're talking about, and I have used that. I just never knew. I never remember what the term is. I've done it in the past. I don't usually do it. I don't usually use it only because I'm so color and hue and value conscious as I'm working that I don't really need it at the end. I'll get a little reflected light there.
Have you ever drawn two animals combined, like a snake or and a rabbit, for example?
I have. Matter of fact, I did if you look on Corel Painter's website, or the link for it, I'm not sure if it's still on their website or not. Nick will know. I created this image of a zebra and a lion mix.
Didn't you mix like an elephant and another?
Yeah, I did a lion and an elephant and a tiger as well.
That's right.
I'm getting some. I'm going in and trying to hit some deeper, richer darks in some of these areas now. Don't be afraid to go dark, but make sure you balance that dark with clarity. There we go.
Do you sometimes paint reverse, like first environment, then character?
Yes, I do. But a lot of times, most of the time, I don't think distinctly between the environment or the character. I'm thinking about the composition. So a lot of times, I'm not really thinking about what I'm drawing and painting comes secondary later. It's the abstract composition that I worry about up front and first. So how does, whatever it is, whether it's a moose out in the field or or whatever, I think about what is the overall composition from an abstract standpoint feel like, and then I execute. So you can see it's hitting some of these darker areas. It's really kind of defining him a little bit. So we're getting some nice definition here. There we go. Let's go ahead and put a little background on him.
What is the best thing to practice to make your art more quote-unquote believable?
Painting from life. I sound like a broken record, but that's the best thing you can do is paint from life. Get out there and see how the real world works. If you want to do believable art, well, believable is all around us. So get out there and paint what's around you. Learn how light works. Learn how shadows work. Observe it. Work hard at it. That's how you're going to do it.
Will you ever do a shark course?
A shark course? You know what? That's not a bad idea. I don't know if there's a huge demand for it, but it could be kind of fun. I might do something like that.
And actually, speaking of sharks, that'd be a really cool idea if you tried doing them for the Mer Day or whatever it's called.
Mermaid.
Is that what it's called? Mermaid.
Mermaid, yeah.
Mermaid. I wonder what it'd be like if you did a merman, but like you did with the orca, but as like a great white shark or something.
Oh yeah, I've seen some people have done that. It looks really cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. There's beauty.
And let's do one more. Go a little warmer, a little brighter. I'm just trying to vary up the background a little bit.
Does drawing with a Cintiq have the same feeling as in tradition?
No, but it's as close, I think, as you're going to get. And I love drawing on a Cintiq. It's just, to me, it's the best. It's the closest that any tablet gets. It's got its own, depending on what software you're using, it's got its own learning curve, I guess. But to me, drawing on a Cintiq has become as natural as drawing, traditionally. So I just threw in a crappy little background there. Let's go ahead and let's blur it just to push it back a little ways. Do some cheats here. We'll just push it back there, give it a little blur. So now let's put some finishing touches on this guy and call her done. So I'm creating a kind of a reflected light layer. I like to mess around with reflected light. So let's say there's a green reflected light on the left side of him. I'm going to play with this. I'm going to gray it out a little bit, and let's see if I can. It might not be the right value for the color that we have back there, but who cares? Let's see how it looks. I want to do like a little green kind of rim light. Now I can tell already it's not what I want. I'm going to go a little darker. A little bit there. He's just catching some light, catching this rim light. On the left side.
Do you dream of painting when you sleep?
Uh-huh. I do.
Oh,
actually.
You have?
I have, yeah. Yep. It's funny you asked that. I have done that. My paintings are always so much better in my dreams.
Yeah, I had a dream a few months ago where I picked up a harmonica and started playing it, and it sounded really good.
That's cool. I don't like this rim light, so I'm gonna go with a cool rim light. See what that looks like.
Have you ever been to Europe and drew animals native to it?
Yes, I have. And Asia as well. So So now this color will stand out a little bit better. And it's just like a little accent. It adds a little something to the modeling of the moose.
How long can you go before you have to paint or draw something?
Oh, if I'm not drawing, I can go a couple days. But a lot of times, even after a couple of days, I'll find myself doodling or something, absent-mindedly. But I draw. I have to draw all the time.
It's like your addiction.
It's addiction, yeah. Like, thank God it's that. That's my addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. So you can see how that, by adding that blue, it adds a nice little rim light to it. Who started the moose thing? I wonder who started it. I want to say, here's your freaking moose.
I can't remember who started it. But, so yes, how would you finish the antlers?
Oh, I'm going to finish them. I will get there, and I will show you.
Oh, he's going to get there, eh?
Oh, I'll get there, eh?
We lost the hunter back under the glacier. Don't you think you will follow those? They are quite nice.
My son knows Brother Bear inside and out.
Yep. I mean, I was there during pretty much the whole production, so I was able to listen to like all the scratch voices and the final voices and see the animation come together from storyboarding it. Like, I was able to see the whole entire process.
Yeah.
From start to finish. It was pretty cool. And doing that, you end up getting used to hearing the lines over and over.
There we go. So see this, how this blue light, because I've got a lot of orange and red in the moose, so it plays interestingly as a complement. I like that combination. It feels good. You see there? You see there? There's our freaky deaky moose. So let's I'm going to go in and finish out. Let's see. Let's go a little brighter, a little warmer. Add a layer on top, and we'll just finish out these antlers back here.
Is there any character or creature you saw in a dream and they brought into reality? Like, did you ever draw any creatures that were in your dreams?
You know what? I've never had that happen, and I wish I did, because, well, actually, no, I don't, because some of the things I create are kind of scary. And my dreams are always so real. Because a lot of times when I sit down to do a creature design, I really don't know where it's going to go. I might have a notion for what I want to do, but I don't know how it's going to end up. And it's as if I'm designing it as I go, which is kind of fun. It's just, and I'm as surprised as the next guy to see how it comes out, to see where it ends up. Because to me, it's a process of, hey, I think it needs a little bit of this or a little bit of that. And then, that's what I do.
Do you use a mouse or another tablet to edit your videos or do other work on the computer, or do you use your Cintiq the whole time?
I use my Cintiq all the time. I use my Cintiq for everything, which is a great thing. I mean, if someone's thinking about using a Cintiq, it's not just for drawing. I do editing on it. I answer my emails on it. Everything. So to me, my Cintiq, I can't get along without it. And I work on a Cintiq 27 QHD. It's the biggest one they make. But once again, going back to what I was talking about before, I'm a big believer in getting the right tool for the job. And for me, with what I do with my digital work, there's no substitute for a Cintiq. And there's no substitute. Nice. It is quite nice. And there's no substitute for a big Cintiq. And if they come out with a bigger one, I'll get rid of this one and buy the bigger one.
Nick saw a comment and just made him laugh. The moose is taking an elementary school picture with that background.
Yeah, that's right. It's, we need fall. We need fall leaves coming down.
Oh god. Have you ever considered doing critiques or suggestions for improvements of viewer paintings on stream?
We have talked about it. We get this question quite a bit, and we're just not quite sure how to do it yet. Um, our audience is kind of big, and so I'm just not. We're not sure yet how to do it. I like the idea. I'm gonna turn that around a little bit. I like the idea. I just yeah, we're just not sure yet. It's a long-winded answer.
I actually do have an idea on that if you want to talk about it later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Later.
There we go. Getting a little bit of reflected bounced light. Let's get rid of that guy. There we go. So now our antlers are feeling a little better. Maybe we can get into the fur a little bit there.
Are you going to do, or have you already done a video with drawing human hair? Like just drawing humans in general?
I've got an anatomy course, but I don't think I covered hair specifically. That's a good idea. I think I will do a course on hair. Thanks, man. Or gal. Whoever suggested that. I will do one on hair. There we go. Having some fun with this eye here. We're getting close to the end.
Will you be coming up to Canada for any live classes or workshops in the future?
Canada.
Canada.
Frozen hostile wasteland.
It is indeed a frozen hostile wasteland, eh?
I would love to be up in Canada. I love. We don't have any plans right now, but I would love to be up there. I want to get up to just for me. I want to get out to Jasper and up in that part of the world. See some grizzly bears. I'm not liking that. I'm going to pull that back. There we go. I'm going to hit just a few highlights here and there. Just a few brighter bits of fur. You can see each time I do that, I create a new layer. That's my habit. Just in case I don't like it. This is where I'm noodling. This is where I decide if I'm noodling too much. I just add little details. There we go.
Speaking of Canada, would be cool to see a Wolverine, but not Hugh Jackman variety, like an actual like Wolverine animal.
Is that someone asking?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're recommending.
Yeah, I could do that. I'd love to see one in the wild. I've never seen one in the wild. Let's see here. Let's get some light fur. There's our moose.
Have you heard of the short film Even in Death?
I have not heard that about that short film. Tell me about it. Tell me about it, Dustin.
It was saying that it was made by people with autism and has won 2 film festivals.
I have heard about it. I'm sorry, I forgot the title. But now that you describe it, I have heard about it. And I'm very interested in seeing it.
Do you feel like there's added pressure during doing these live streams when you're drawing?
Not anymore. I did at first. I was nervous at first, just only because I wasn't sure what to expect. But you guys are awesome. So I don't have any worries anymore. No, right now I'm just adding, just adding little final details here and there, lighting details for making sure everything's homogeneous, working together. You know what I didn't do? I neglected the feet. Let's get down in here just real quick. Let's, there's a multiply layer. Where's my next overlay layer? It's way down there. Way down there.
How do you create color harmony in your paintings?
Well, I work with a fairly limited palette usually when I'm working in color harmony. And you'll notice I don't use a lot of pure color because I've learned over time that you can get suggested purity just out of how you put different colors together. For example, that gray, you saw how gray that was. It was almost touching the left side. But when it was put against the right warm color, I was able to pull coolness out of it. And so I always work within a very limited palette. And then I just choose, if I want to hit something with pure color, then I use my pure color very, very selectively and sparingly. And that's usually how it is in nature. A lot of times you'll notice. And so with that in mind, just by the sheer fact that I'm working within a limited range, it automatically gives me harmony. It gives me harmony.
Have you ever done stuck motion animation?
Stop motion, you mean? No, I've never done stop motion.
Well, actually, he didn't say stop, but stuck.
Yeah,
motion.
I think they meant to say stop. There's no such thing as stuck motion. Unless there's something that I don't know.
He spelled it as S-T-U-C-K.
Yeah, I'm sure he meant stop once again. So let's just stop talking right there, Dustin. And no, I haven't done it, and I'd like to. I just have never gotten around to doing it. I don't sculpt either. I used to love to sculpt when I was in college, but I haven't sculpted since I was in college. So there's a lot of things I would love to do. I just don't have time because of everything else that I'm doing. There we go. I'm just hitting a few areas here.
So you don't name your layers? How do you keep an overview, or do you just go your own way?
I'm the first one to preach name your layers, name your layers, name your layers. And I usually, if I'm doing a big job, I usually do. Today, because I was just kind of cruising through, I didn't name them. But I'm a big advocate about naming your layers. Yeah, like today, you can see I'm searching. Name your layers so you don't have to search all the time. Adding a little highlights on his hooves. There we go. Just adding quick little details on his footsies here. And then we're going to call it done. I'm going to add a little shadow underneath. Maybe add a little bit of
Do moose have tails?
Yeah, short ones.
They're like deer
Yep,
tails.
just like a deer tail. Moose have little tails. Now let's put a layer underneath him. Let's set it to multiply. I'll give it a blue tint.
What's your least favorite animal to draw and why?
It's my least favorite animal to draw and why. I don't like drawing
Moose.
moose. I don't like drawing blind naked mole rats. I don't know. I don't know. I like drawing all animals. Worms? They're too easy. There. You got a moose, baby. There's your moose. The moose is loose. Actually, I want to hit that rim lighting just a little bit. Just a little bit. Whoops, there it is. Let's go a little brighter on that rim lighting. One tiny touch. Let's go an element just a touch brighter. And just select areas. I'm going to go even brighter. Like areas that are more perpendicular to the source. So it'll be just like just little touches. Sorry about the coughing.
You're good.
All right. There we go. See, that rim lighting gets them to pop just a little better. There we go. And we'll get them to pop right here on the nose. And we forgot the rim lighting on the antler.
What's the difference between left-handed and right-handed artists? Is there a creativity difference or in technique? Or is it...
No.
Oh.
One's opposite.
Yeah, one's left-handed, one's right-handed. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Any tips on watercolor painting?
Start from light and go dark. That's the best tip I can give you without giving an entire course. That's another thing. I'm going to be doing a watercolor course.
Oh, you haven't done one of those yet?
No.
I know you did the charcoal stuff.
No, but as far as watercolor painting, paint in layers, have fun with it. That's the biggest thing with watercolor. But be sure to, mix your colors wisely, because it's very easy to end up with mud when working in watercolor. So there's our moose. So let's put a little texture in the background. There's always a little texture. Let's see, what do we got? Let's go here. Let me grab one of my, where is it? Where are they? See all my crazy brushes here? Oh, there they are.
Why do you reach for a brighter color for highlights instead of color dodge or just the dodge tool?
Sometimes I do. But sometimes the color needs to be a different color. I think about that light source. Maybe that light source is a different color. So, a lot of times I There we go. Wow, that sucker's got to catch up. Let's go ahead and blur that. So it really depends on what I feel the need is. There we go. Let's jump up to my foliage.
Are you going to do an oil painting course in the future?
Yes, that's another one. Good idea. I will be doing an oil painting course. Sorry, I'm looking for my my foliage brushes. I don't think I've loaded them.
Yeah, I think an oil painting one will be good, especially since you like. I remember back in the day you did like oil paintings like 2-3 times a week.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, there they are. They're right here, right in front of my face. Let's see what that one does. Got leaves. Oh, there's leaves on the ground. But anyway, there's our moose, and that was fun. I had a really good time drawing him today for you guys. Let's go a little brighter. So next week, I'm trying to think. I don't think we have anything going on, so I think I am going to be here next week. So, think about. Well, I don't like that. I'm trying to talk and draw at the same time. Doesn't work all the time. But maybe we'll take some suggestions on what you guys might want next week. So, shoot us some ideas over at creatureartteacher.com. That's my website. And if you're looking for more art instruction, animal drawing instruction, animation, any of that kind of stuff, character design, figure drawing, come on over to creatureartteacher.com. I've got all kinds of lessons. Yeah, Dustin?
Nick is suggesting they do a quick zoom in and pan of the moose to show the detail.
So you can see here, there we go. That's, you can see that there's a lot of looseness. I like drawings to have some life to them, and for me, it's the looseness. I pay very close attention to color and value. Color and value. Value meaning light and dark. So I make sure my lights and darks are balanced, and I look for color and value. So color, I'm really paying attention to warm and cool. Especially look in the antler right here, how I hit the cools, hit some cool reflected light in that overall warm shadow. Okay, those are the types of things I'm always looking for. Look how we hit some cool reflected lights in the fur and the body. And remember how gray that was. It's really looking at how color affects other color. Remember that. Color always affects color. You can have something that looks so gray like we did on our color on our palette, but when we pull that into an overall warm background, it pushes that gray cool and makes it look like it's got blue in it. And that's what we did here. I'm always thinking about how color affects color. Okay? And like I said, I always try to stay fairly loose. Loose rhymes with moose. So there we go. So there's our moose. You guys got a moose. So think about another animal you want. And it can be just as crazy as a moose. But and send us some suggestions. Going over to, like I said, creature. Oh, you know what I forgot?
What'd you forget?
It's funny. I didn't do the reflected light on this leg, and it's got to have reflected light. But go on over to creatureartteacher.com or come over to my Facebook page and shoot us some suggestions on what you might want to see for next week. What kind of subject you might want me to cover, anything like that, because it's wide open, and I'm here for you guys. I am here to serve you. So I had a great time today. It was fun. Thanks for whoever suggested drawing a moose, because I had a blast. I always like drawing animals. And so until I see you next week, get out, draw some animals, draw anything. Get out there and create some beauty. Put some beauty back into the world, because that's what it needs. Be the force of change. Be the force of positive, and I'll talk to you later. Have fun, you guys, and I'll see you. One more thing. You can see me over on Facebook on Tuesday and Thursdays. Thursdays here, Facebook on Tuesdays. And I will see you then.
Yeah,
Bye.
good day.